Honda is ready with the BRV and we have the full review on CNB. Another new vehicle is the Suzuki Access 125. That review is also coming up on the show today. Thank you for joining us on this brand new episode of CNB. You've had a glimpse of it, so you know we've got the review of the new Honda BRV. It is the latest compact SUV to drive into a segment that excites the market, all of you and me as well. So let's get straight into all the details then on this car.
Honda has a fair amount riding on the BRV. It steps into the highly competitive and very hot compact SUV space. The car is built on the Mobilio Amaze Brio platform. Its face is akin to Honda's global SUVs and reminds of the CR-V. The chrome grille and sharp headlamps work. The tailgate is a bit minivan-like, but the tail light treatment is attractive.
Where the BRV's design loses steam is along the side of the car, because really it's not an SUV when you look at it from the side profile. There should have been a nice thick wedge over here in the metal which could have enhanced that SUV feel a little bit, and maybe Honda could have played with 17-inch wheels just to give it a little lift and to make it look a little fuller and make the wheels look a little meaner as well, because really when you look at it at the side and you see the same door panels as the Mobilio, you kind of think of it more as a cross Mobilio.
So the car appears stretched when viewed side-on and very van-like, but the car's cabin will be its USP.
Now that long stretched shape on the outside, well, it turns into a bit of a USP on the inside, and this is literally what Honda will have in its arsenal to really play up when it comes to the BRV and its USPs. Lots of cabin space. The second row, very generous in terms of space, lots of legroom. And then the third row, which remember, not many cars in this space have. The Mahindra TUV 300 does have a third row, but those are jump seats. This is a proper bench, if you want to call it that. And it is fairly comfortable, I have to say. The legroom's not bad. Maybe not for very tall people, but it does the job. And when you don't need it, well, you simply need to fold it away and it props up here behind this second row, and it gives you tons of cargo space, which is why Honda is making the 7-seat configuration standard on the BRV. There is no 5-seat version because, well, it can go from 5 to 7 seats whenever you want.
The low height means that the cargo loading bay is very easy to access, though again, that's very non-SUV-like. The roof-mounted AC vents do manage to cool the big cabin fairly well. On the top-end VX, you get black leatherette seating and door panel trim. The black fabric version on the V is also quite smart though. Both variants also have the start-stop button, keyless entry and climate control. All nice to have. There is Bluetooth connectivity, but the lack of a cool touchscreen or navigation or CarPlay and the like, even on the top end, is a definite problem. Honda isn't divulging much about variants and trims as yet, but we do know that airbags are standard across all trims and ABS too, except for the base petrol. We drove the diesel first.
Honda's got to figure out what to do with this engine noise problem. I mean, it says, of course, that it's really worked hard on the NVH levels, specifically on the BRV, but it's a legacy issue with this 1.5 diesel engine. I mean, both the Amaze and the City had the same problem. It carries on with this car. I think it's too loud, but the good bits, well, you've certainly got a great amount of mid and low end torque. It's excellent. It makes for good drivability. You don't have to change gears that often in city traffic, and it also has a nice cruising character on the highway too.
The numbers sure look familiar, and despite the noise factor, this engine has proved to be hardy and now well proven in India. And yes, the new 6-speed gearbox is quite a delight. The car handles fairly well and the ride quality is decent. This is more true of the diesel. There is a slight amount of body roll, but for the most part, the BRV drives well. The steering disappoints though, and that was even more apparent when we switched to the petrol car.
Now this petrol engine does lack a little bit of punch, and I think some of that has been done to accommodate a much higher mileage figure. On both the diesel and the petrol BRV, Honda claims best-in-class mileage, and you got those numbers coming up on your screen right now, so you know what I'm talking about. It is attractive, and a lot of people driving this car in city conditions will appreciate that for sure, but you add to that the fact that, you know, with a CVT, in any case, you're losing some of the punch, but you add to that the fact that you're getting no feedback from the engine, you're getting no feedback from the steering as well, which is really flaccid and loose, and then it becomes a little bit almost sort of a ho-hum kind of an experience. It's not something that really excites you. Of course, the car ticks most of the boxes and does most of the things you want it to, but like I said, it doesn't get you excited in any way.
On the petrol is where you get the CVT option, which as you saw has the higher mileage figure than the manual.
Now you knew all along when Honda decides to put a CVT instead of an automatic with the 1.5 iVTEC engine, it's not going to be electric, it's not going to be a fire starter, but it does perform well enough in that range that you expect from a CVT. It becomes extremely pleasant and fun to drive in city traffic conditions because everything just becomes more convenient. And that's really the clincher. You've seen that with a lot of Honda vehicles of late. The CVT option has started to become more and more popular. And compare it to a Creta where the automatic gearbox is a little cruder, not as refined. Compare it to a Duster where obviously the AMT is never going to be as smooth. And yes, then the CVT starts to look a lot more attractive as well.
The petrol in general seems lackluster and certainly not what you'd expect from an iVTEC motor, but the CVT comes across as refined. The engine gets noisy and very rev happy when you put it from D to S mode or use the rather welcome segment first paddle shift. But it's more noise and less action as performance only enhances marginally. So it isn't really a fire starter, though great claimed mileage figures assuage some of that. It isn't as premium as you'd expect, and that's where pricing becomes the crucial factor. Hyundai has run away with this segment with the Creta. That car, though overpriced, offers enough SUV appeal, cabin comfort and equipment. Honda will have to get off its high horse, get its hands dirty and fight it out by undercutting the rivals if it wants big volumes from the BRV.
Now the BRV, according to Honda, stands for Bold Runabout Vehicle. Go figure what that is, but given the fact that the car looks like this on the side, it may as well have been based really on a van. Well, that's me being uncharitable and a little bit harsh, but on that note, I'm going to slip into a very short break. I do want to hear your reactions to the BRV. It does hinge on price, doesn't it? Where will Honda position it? Well, a few more days before we find out about the prices. Let's take a short break. We come back with the Suzuki Access 125.
Mercedes-Benz presents The Great Overland Adventure. Season 2 starts 26 April, 8:30 p.m. on NDTV Prime.
Suzuki is back with an all-new Access 125. So what's new and what's changed on the scooter? And what are the good and not so good bits? Preetham Bora has spent time with that scooter to answer those questions for you.
One look and it's apparent that the all-new Suzuki Access 125 won't be winning any beauty contest, and it's not likely to turn too many heads on the street either. But one thing is certain, the all-new Access 125 looks big and is quite handsome. What works for it is that it is not overstyled.
There are a few new design elements on the Access 125. For example, this new headlight. It's a retro-looking headlight, got a fat chrome strip around it. Looks quite neat actually. Then the side panels have been redesigned from the older one. It's got a new 3D Access logo here. Looks quite neat. And there's a chrome exhaust muffler at the back. Shiny chrome, looks quite nice actually. Overall, the design isn't radically different. It won't turn too many heads on the street. But it's a neat looking scooter. It's universally accepted design, and I think it will find appeal in a wide range of customers.
The instrument panel is a simple unit with a large analog speedometer and a small digital display with readouts for 2 trip meters, odometer, service interval and a fuel gauge. The multifunction key has ignition, steering lock and a remote seat release. Overall, the switchgear quality is quite good. There are also a few hooks to carry a bag or two and a pocket up front for additional storage. Besides the generous 21-litre space under the seat, which is best in class and definitely enough to fit a full-size helmet and a few other knickknacks too. The fuel filler cap could have been externally placed, and the new Access also misses out on a USB charging socket, although there is space for an optional power socket that you'll have to get installed at your own cost, not at the dealer but out in the grey market, which is not ideal. The Access 125 gets a new engine with what the company calls SEP or Suzuki Eco Performance. What that essentially does is reduce friction among the moving parts and is also said to improve fuel economy. The overall displacement remains the same at 124cc, but the new model makes marginally more torque. The figures don't seem much, but the all-new Suzuki Access 125 impressed us every time we turned the throttle. It's not lightning fast off the block, but the scooter's got enough grunt to give a sense of a strong, solid performer. Acceleration is smooth and linear, and there is no vibration or protest from the engine even at high speeds. The 12-inch front wheel and the telescopic front forks give the Access 125 great handling, and the variant with the front disc brake shaves off speed quite effortlessly.
Overall, there's little to find fault in the new Access 125. The looks, they're a little conventional, nothing to go gaga over. But overall, it's quite a nice and handsome looking scooter, and I'm sure people will find it quite attractive across the consumer segment that will be looking at this kind of scooters. Now, Suzuki claims a fuel economy of 64 kilometers per litre, which in the real world should translate to around 48 to 50 kilometers per litre, which is quite good actually. It's got a nice and refined engine, smooth linear acceleration, plush ride quality, great handling. So all positives for the scooter, and we quite enjoyed riding this around. Now the question that remains is how it stacks up against the competition, and that's led by the class-leading Honda Activa 125 and the recently launched Mahindra Gusto 125. We'll of course be doing a comparison of the new Access 125 with both these scooters soon, so keep looking out for that.
At a touch below 54,000 rupees, it's also a couple of thousand rupees less expensive than the segment leader, the Honda Activa 125. Prices for the disc brake variant, the one that we're riding, are yet to be announced.
So while Suzuki hasn't dazzled us, it's done quite well with the new Access, and we've been asking similar questions about the BRV from Honda, isn't it? Now, like I said, we don't have the prices yet, so you can't really judge the car yet, but you know, the big question is, does Honda have a winner on its hands? And the only way to really answer that, besides knowing the pricing and the positioning, is by pitting it against its rival. That's the car it really has to take down, or at least go up against the Hyundai Creta, the market leader, the car that's completely run away with this segment, and which is why we of course will answer that question for you. But we've run out of time right now, haven't we? So to see that little shootout and battle between these two cars, you have to tune in to CNB Bazaar Buzz, 8:30 p.m. on Thursday on NDTV Prime. So that's something to look forward to. With that, I will say goodbye. Please wear your seatbelts, please wear your helmets. See you.
Mercedes-Benz presents The Great Overland Adventure every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. on NDTV Prime.